What is up guys, my name is Ignas, welcome back to the channel. Today I would like to bring up a large biotech pharma name Amgen, ticker symbol AMGN. The stock has been moving sideways this year, down 0.19% on the year to date, currently at $226.12 per share. That's a similar result for 1 year, as in 12 months the stock is lower for 0.34%, and at least in 5 years it's up for $46, from $180 in 2017, up for 25.57%. Trailing price to earnings is now at exactly 22, and it seems that they are paying a decent dividend, currently at a yield of 3.43%. So to check into Amgen further, we will break it down into a few parts. First, we'll take a look into the most recent earnings report, then history of financials and fundamental ratios, after that where analysts think the stock should be trading at in 1 year, then Superinvestors and analysts activity. I will share my own current position in Amgen on Revolut, and lastly we'll take a look into the technicals of the price chart. I do believe that this will be an interesting one to look into, so let's start. So they did report earnings on the 8th of February, and Amgen gaps higher on bullish 2030 outlook and why some are questioning it. So for the fourth quarter, Amgen reported sales of $6.85 billion, with earnings of $4.36 per share. This meant that earnings beat expectations of over 30 cents, where it was set at $4.04 per share, and that was also an increase in earnings of 26%. But on the other hand, sales fell short for 3%, where expectation was at $6.87 billion, so that is $2 billion short. The company did bring a bullish outlook for 2030, but unfortunately they gave lighter than expected guidance for 2022. So for this year they expect to earn from $17 to $18 per share on $25.4 billion to $26.5 billion in sales. If we take the midpoint at $17.50, then the guidance for 2022 missed analysts' expectations, which is currently at $17.67 per share. That is even a worse case for sales, as consensus is at $26.92 billion, over the higher part from Amgen's guidance. So there's not much to be excited about guidance, but how was Amgen performing previously? Here we have revenue results for the last 5 years. So in 2016, Amgen was bringing in $22.99 billion in revenue for the trailing 12 months. Then in 2017, that decreased a bit to $22.85 billion. In 2018, we saw an increase to $23.75 billion. 2019, a small decrease to $23.36 billion. Then in 2020, we had an increase to $25.4 billion. And now for 2021, we have it at $25.98 billion. So it seems that the worst quarter was first one of 2021, where Amgen brought in $5.9 billion, a decrease of 4.22% year over year. But then the largest positive change was going from 2019 to 2020, with an increase of almost 12% year over year. The revenue growth has been decreasing recently, but 3 of the last 4 quarters have still been higher from the previous year. Looks quite decent if they can continue going on this path. Now let us take price to earnings, and this is again history for the last 5 years. So in 2016, price to earnings was at 12.23. Then by the start of 2018, earnings dropped, so price to earnings was at 57.48. It was back on track again by the end of 2018, with price to earnings at 14.11. Then in 2019, as the price was moving higher, price to earnings also went up to 17.52. Earnings pretty much went nowhere for a few years, so in 2020 we had price to earnings at 17.96. And now with price moving sideways but earnings going a bit lower, price to earnings is moving up a bit at 22.02. So it seems that the stock price have been continuously moving higher, but earnings per share haven't been increasing at all, and we even saw a small decrease in 2021. So that is why we currently have the price to earnings almost the highest it has ever been in the last 5 years. Next one we'll take a look into are the shares outstanding, and this redness for the last 5 years is definitely what we would like to find. So in 2016, the number of shares outstanding was at 0.75 billion. Then in a year in 2017, it was at 0.74 billion shares, down 2.52% year over year. It seems that buybacks picked up steam somewhere in 2018, as the number of shares outstanding was at 0.67 billion, down 9.52% year over year. Then in 2019 it was again lower for 8.42% at 0.61 billion shares. In 2020 it was again lower for 3.12%, 0.59 billion shares. And with the fourth quarter of 2021, number of shares outstanding is at 0.57, down 4.24% year over year. So it looks like that in the last 5 years, Amgen bought back 189 million shares, which at the current price of $226 per share adds up to a buyback of almost $43 billion, meaning that they are determined to bring value back to shareholders. But there is another way for the company to give back to investors. Here we have the dividend yield history for the last 5 years. So back in 2017, as the stock was trading at $140 per share, dividend yield was at 2.66%. Then in 2018, the price went up a bit, but the dividend payout increased more, so we had the yield at 2.81%. In 2019, the price had a decrease, with dividend payout continuously increasing, so the yield went higher to 3.22%. There was a bottom for the dividend yield in 2020, as the price was surging higher, so the yield was at 1.92%, but then in 2021 the payout went back on track, so the dividend yield went higher to 2.65%, and now with the latest quarter in, as the price slowed down, we now have a yield of 3.18%. So it's not that much higher compared to the last 5 years, where the dividend yield was trading in between 2.5 and 3%, but it's still now almost the highest it has ever been in those last 5 years. To check into the yield further, we'll use my dividend investing watchlist. So this is here the yield history for the last 5 years. And now we can calculate that over the last 5 years, the dividend yield on average was at 2.73%. So in 2017, it was up to 5% under the 5-year average. Then in 2018, we had it over the average for 3.06%. In 2019, the yield surged to 3.22%. That was 18.09% over the 5-year average. Then in 2020 it dropped to 1.92%, almost 30% under the 5-year average. In 2021 it peaked at 3.35%, so 22.86% over 5-year average, and currently at the yield of 3.42%. It is now actually the highest it has been in the last 5 years, 25.43% over the average 5-year yield. So it looks to be a decent position to get into the stock, at least for that dividend. Now, if you would like to check into Amgen or other dividend-paying stocks from my dividend investing watchlist, you can do just that by following the second link at the top of the description. So we did check into the history, but how about the future? Where do analysts think the stock will be trading at next year? So here we have 24 analyst price targets for Amgen. They range from the lows of $185 to the highs of $298 per share. The average out of it is $247.28, and the stock is currently trading at $226.49. This means that on average, for next year, analysts suggest that the stock should be trading higher for 9.2%. Now let's take another angle. Here we have earnings per share estimate from 24 analysts for next year, which comes in at $19.15. If we assume that the price to earnings remains the same, then on average, analysts suggest that next year the stock should be trading higher for 8.6%. So 9% in a year doesn't sound that bad, and don't forget that they are also paying a dividend of over 3%. Now let's take a look into the superinvestor activity, and there is a small issue with that. It looks like that not one superinvestor portfolio is holding the stock right now. If we take a look into the most recent activity, ClearBridge Value Trust sold out of the name in Q1 of 2021, with Maverick Capital buying a small position of 109 shares. Then in second quarter they increased on their position 15 times, but in the third sold out of the whole position, meaning that right now no superinvestors are holding the stock. We can also take a peek in the insider activity, but not too much going on here. Last time an insider sold was May 12th of 2021, but after that date nothing more happened. So they managed to sell 5 times for $1.4 million and did 0 transactions to get back in. At least they haven't been selling anything for the last 6 months. Now, as promised, I will share my own position in Amgen on the Revolut portfolio. Here we are in the Google Sheets tracker for it. So the position was started this year on January 28th, and we are now holding 0.621 of a share at an average opening price of $225.41. Since the current price is pretty much right there at $225.43, we are up 1 cent on the position, higher for 0.01%. This position in Amgen takes up 4.46% of the whole portfolio, and that is 36.26% of exposure in the healthcare sector. Amgen is currently suggesting a dividend of 3.42%, and since we still bought it a bit lower, our yield on cost is now at 3.44%, and we are getting $4.82 from Amgen on an annual basis. If you would be interested in doing a more thorough check on my portfolio, you are able to access it by following the first link at the top of the description. Also, if you would be interested in using it by yourself, it's free to use, you just need to make a copy, and then you will be able to edit these positions to the names from your own portfolio. Now the last part we'll take a look is the price chart. 3 months back the stock was trading at $200 per share, and we are now over 10% up at $226. In the first part of January of 2022, we had a moving average crossover, where the 50-day average went over the 100 one, and it seems that there was a lot of buying pressure there, with the relative strength index moving over 70. But the price also reached the 300-day moving average, so the strength gave out, relative strength index went closer to 50, and the lines of the MACD were showing bearishness. We had a jump over the 300-day moving average for 2 days, but then again dropped lower, closer to the 100-day moving average at $218 per share. Now with the few most recent days we had another bullish crossover, where the 100-day moving average went over the 200-day one, and the 12-day moving average of the MACD is crossing the 26th one to the upper side. I think right now we may be in an interesting channel, where the 300-day moving average is acting as a resistance, and the 100-day moving average could be acting as a support. So I would be interested in buying at around $217, but also consider reducing on the position at $230. If we are looking for a longer term, I think we are looking into more bullish moving average crossovers, which suggests that there is still room for the price to move up. Now let's make a quick recap of what we found. So for the fourth quarter, Amgen beat on earnings, but then missed on sales, and the guidance for 2022 was below expectations. Revenue looks decent, at least for the last several quarters, as they have been increasing year over year. Unfortunately, price to earnings is now expensive, almost highest it has ever been in the last 5 years. But they are consistently bringing value back to shareholders. In 5 years, they bought 189 million shares, and with consistent dividend payout increases, the current dividend yield is 25% over the 5-year average. Analysts predict that in 1 year the share price should go up, higher for 8.6 to 9.2%. Unfortunately, it seems that no Superinvestors are currently holding the stock, and even though recently insiders didn't make any moves, they have sold some stock a year ago. The price have been moving higher in the last few months, and it seems that there is still more to go with the moving averages crossing higher. As I did show on my tracker, I am currently holding Amgen at an average opening price of $225 per share. So that was it for today. Consider supporting the channel and leave a thumbs up under the video. What do you think, is Amgen a worthy pick right now? Share your stance or your average cost on it in a comment below. If you would be interested in getting notified exactly when I buy or sell any stock, then consider memberships. By becoming a member, you will get access to Discord, where I share my dividend investing watch list and all the buys and sells exactly when I do them. This could be a great option to track my moves closely. I also did an analysis on another company, so if you would be interested in that, then click on a video that is currently on the screen. And that was it from my side. Thank you for watching, and I will be seeing y'all in the next one.